You know the feeling. We've all been there. You set an alarm with these heroic, ambitious intentions, only to wake up as a completely different person who has no memory of ever making that agreement. Today, we're going to talk about those choices, the ones that feel incredibly smart in the moment, but are secretly sabotaging our future. And here's the real kicker. This isn't about having weak willpower. It's about flawed logic that feels completely 100% airtight right when we're making the call. All right, let's get into it. So picture this. Your brain is like an apartment with two tenants who somehow never ever meet. First, you've got evening you. This is the optimist, the grand planner. This is the version of you who signs up for the gym, buys all the healthy groceries, and confidently sets the alarm for a 6 a.m. run. They feel so disciplined, so on top of it. But then, there's morning you. This tenant wakes up, sees the alarm as a personal insult, and has absolutely zero allegiance to whatever crazy contract evening you signed a few hours earlier. Hitting the snooze button doesn't feel like being lazy, it feels like survival. It's the perfect example of one tenant signing a lease for a beautiful future and the other one waking up and immediately trashing the place. And this right here is the heart of the whole thing. We beat ourselves up all the time, right? We think, oh, I'm so lazy, I'm so unmotivated. But what if that's not at all? The idea here is that these are actually cognitive traps. The logic to hit snooze or to put off that big project or to say yes to that thing you really don't want to do, it feels perfectly rational in the moment. It's like a counterfeit transaction that feels completely real until, the bill comes due. Okay, so let's start with our day-to-day work. This is where that flawed logic starts out small, but man, it compounds so fast. We get stuck in this trap of feeling productive, which our brain often mistakes for it actually being productive. So, I want you to just pause and think about this for a second. Seriously, when you sit down to start your day, what are the actions that make you feel like you're getting things done? What gives you that little satisfying hit of accomplishment? Just keep that in your head for a moment. Does any of this look a little too familiar? Buying that perfect brand new planner, downloading the buzzy new to-do list app, spending a solid hour color-coding your entire Google Calendar. It all feels fantastic, doesn't it? It feels like you are gearing up to be incredibly effective. Our brain even gives us a little hit of dopamine for being so organized. But here's the catch. And boom, this is the glitch in our operating system. See, to your brain, that feeling you get from organizing your desk is basically identical to the feeling of finishing a huge project. It files both experiences under the same tab, Work Accomplished, so you can easily burn an entire morning setting up the perfect productivity system, feel great about it, and then do absolutely 0 hours of actual, real work using that system. And oh man, here is maybe the most common productivity trap of them all. You wake up, your brain is fresh, it's at its peak. And what's the very first thing you do? You open your email. In that single moment, you have just generously donated the most valuable, most focused hours of your entire day to solving other people's problems and reacting to their emergencies. It feels productive because, yeah, you're busy, but you're starting your day on your back foot, letting the rest of the world set your agenda for you. All right, let's zoom out a bit. Let's raise the stakes. This same flawed logic doesn't just mess with our to-do lists. It applies to our biggest, most important life choices. And sometimes, the choices that feel the safest and the most stable are actually the most dangerous ones in the long run. We all know the yes pattern, don't we? You say yes to a project you don't have time for or a weekend trip you don't want to go on. The logic in that moment is airtight. You feel helpful, you get to avoid an awkward conversation, you feel wanted. It's an immediate win, emotionally. But every yes to something you don't truly care about is a no to something you do, a project you're passionate about, time with your family, or even just some badly needed rest. It feels like generosity in the moment, but really, it's often just theft from your future self. This just perfectly captures the insidious danger of a stable but soul-crushing situation, like a job you can't stand. You stay because the misery is a sure thing, while the uncertainty of leaving is absolutely terrifying. Burnout doesn't show up with some big, dramatic explosion. It just creeps in. It arrives as a totally normal, mind-numbing Tuesday. And then the next Tuesday is the same, and pretty soon every day feels like Tuesday, and you kind of forget what the rest of the week used to feel like. And this metaphor just illustrates the trap so brilliantly. We tell ourselves, now just isn't the right time to make a big change. The paycheck is stable, the routine is stable, and we try really hard to ignore the fact that this stability is coming at a massive cost. The room we're sitting in might be stable, but it's also slowly and quietly on fire. And we tolerate the smoke because, well, at least we know what to expect. You see this everywhere, ignoring that little ache in your back because you're just too busy, trading a critical hour of sleep for scrolling through stuff you won't even remember tomorrow, holding on to a grudge because it feels righteous even though it's just poisoning your own mood, avoiding that tough conversation, which then just ends up playing on a loop in your head at 2 a.m. anyway. These all feel like logical, short-term moves, but our bodies and our minds, they're keeping a running tab. They send us polite little memos at first, and when we ignore those, they eventually start sending invoices. Okay, so we've identified the traps. We can see how our own logic fails us. So the million-dollar question is, how do we get out? How do we break these patterns and actually get moving? Well, the source material offers a really simple but profound mental flip. This is the model that pretty much all of us live by. We think we need to wait for this lightning bolt of inspiration, we wait to feel motivated, and then we believe we will finally take action on our big goals. So we wait, and we scroll through inspirational quotes just waiting for that feeling to show up. But the reality, it turns out, is the complete opposite. It's causally backwards. You don't wait for motivation. You act first, in some small, almost trivial way. You just begin. And then, sometimes, if you're lucky, motivation shows up afterwards. It arrives like a coworker who's late to the meeting, asking, "Hey, what did I miss?" after the project is already underway. Action is the spark, not the other way around. I absolutely love this analogy. We've spent our whole lives thinking of motivation as the fuel, right? The thing we need to get the car started. But it's not. It's the exhaust. It's a byproduct of the engine already running. The simple and, yeah, difficult truth is that you have to start the work without it. And if you're lucky, the feeling of motivation will join you for the ride. So if you can't rely on motivation, what can you rely on? This question. It's sometimes called the deathbed test, and it is such a powerful tool for getting clarity. When you're stuck, when you're making all the excuses, just stop and ask yourself, years from now, on my deathbed, will I regret not having done this? This one question just cuts through all the short-term noise and connects you directly to what you actually, truly value. So here's the crucial point. You combine that big clarifying question with this concept right here. Don't get paralyzed by the massive 5-year plan or the huge transformation you want to make. Focus only on the adjacent possible, the single, smallest available step you can take from exactly where you are right now. That means writing one sentence, putting on your running shoes, making one quick phone call. Ignoring that small, available step while you wait for some big, unavailable leap, well, that's how dreams get postponed forever. And that brings us full circle, right back to that alarm clock. Evening you is going to set it tonight, feeling all responsible. Morning you is going to have to face it tomorrow. Every single trap we've talked about, the illusion of progress, the lure of stability, waiting for motivation, it's all the same trip, just in a different costume. Each one is designed to optimize for the feeling of a right move in the moment, rather than the outcome of a right move over time. So the final question isn't really about whether or not you'll hit snooze, it's about which tenant is in charge. And is either one of them paying attention to where you're actually headed?